The guy that we hired ended up getting arrested.
Yeah, he was
Ponzi
frauding.
scheme.
Yeah, frauding.
FBI, airports. We were getting called from the SEC. Like
The next thing you know, he's on a yacht.
Exactly.
Like Bali.
And we had a conversation. We said, all right, we've been at this for 2 years. We're going to give this thing another year. We're going to go all in with this new website for another year. If not, we need to really evaluate our time. Welcome to Behind the Rise podcast, hosted by the Perrina Brothers. My name is Angelo, and I'm joined by my brothers and business partners, Lucho and Valentino. On this show, we will speak to successful local, national, and global entrepreneurs, as well as discuss lessons we've learned in our 15-year career building a 9-figure organization. We're in the middle of our journey now and want to share with you all the wins, losses, and lessons learned behind the rise. Now let's get into it. Episode 2 of Behind the Rise, talking about how we built our 8-figure meal delivery company, Nutré Meals.
So it's going to be a lot of storytelling. There's going to be lessons along the way. Obviously, we made some mistakes. We had some really great things that happened along the way, but it's a very interesting story. And it started in 2017. So, Angel, do you want to start kind of how it all kicked off in 2017?
Yeah, once you clear your throat, we'll be able to continue on with this
Jesus
episode.
Christ.
Maybe drink some water before we start next time, and we'll get ready to go. So, 2017. In 2017, we had the idea. I think we touched on in episode 1 a little bit about how the idea started. So I've always struggled with my weight. My father's type 2 diabetic. He had a heart attack when he was 42. And as everybody knows, a lot of these things are managed by diet. You know, medication helps, but really diet is number one. So my father was actually, I think he actually had somebody who was meal prepping for him.
Yeah, it sucked.
The food wasn't great. He didn't like it, so he didn't stay on it.
Old school meal prep.
Yeah. So we come from the restaurant business, as you guys have learned. And so we started using like our chefs and myself to cook prepared meals for my father. So we started making some meals for him. And then almost immediately we saw that he was, seeing improvements right away. Like his energy was better, his focus was better, he had to take less insulin, his blood sugars were being controlled better, and it was like literally within the first week. He was within the first couple of days, like if he's eating the 3 to 4 meals a day we were making for him, he was right away starting to feel better. So we were like, wow, this is something.
Yeah, when you look at the like having diabetes in the diabetic community, if you look at really what works and what's tried and true is dieting. And that's when I really started looking into it, like starting reading a bunch of books on it and seeing like, wow, there's studies that are showing like, you know, within 10 years of being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, if you have a very good diet, it could revert having diabetes, meaning it goes away, no insulin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was like the first time we really saw like, wow, food isn't just like an impact of like losing weight, but like with diseases, it's like this shit really works. You know, it was pretty crazy.
Right. I remember you just kind of went through like your first transformation too. You did that
Yes.
program with, I think it was New England Fat Loss, with that local.
Yeah. So my
my
background with that, like part of like kind of what made this happen was like the idea and the fact that I've literally done every single program or weight loss thing that you could possibly do. I mean, if you know it, I've done it. Like there's not one that I haven't done. So I've seen all the good, the bad, what works, what doesn't work, what's sustainable, what isn't sustainable. And although Nutré isn't necessarily like a fat loss program, like at its core, but we took a lot of those lessons for what works and what didn't work.
Yeah, the origins were essentially to lose weight. And we figured like meal prepping correlation is with weight loss.
Right.
So after we did that, we were like, okay, this is something that we want to do. We did some general research on the landscape of like who else was meal prepping. It was either like mom and pop out of your kitchen, or it's like these massive companies that typically didn't do a good job with their food. Mm-hmm. So then we started with jot forms, right? Which we kept our costs extremely low. We just wanted to prove the actual concept of who's going to use this thing. So I started asking my friends who wanted to use it, and then we kind of took off a la carte.
And what a jot form is basically just like an online like survey thing, like a one-pager that you can send to people to fill out. Mm-hmm. And we used it where you could fill out your like your menu, right? And we did that before we built the website because number one, we wanted to make sure that people actually wanted this product, right? Number two, we didn't want to invest into a website without knowing that this thing was going to go.
What are you building?
What are you building? And we didn't know what type of website we wanted, right? Because we didn't know how we wanted to develop the menus, how we wanted people like to be able to choose them, how many numbers of meals a week.
Right.
Like there's a lot of standard platforms out there to build websites on that are excellent. Like Shopify is number one.
Yeah.
But could we use just like a boilerplate like Shopify platform?
We didn't want
to
be limited to, you know, like the framework of a cookie cutter website. We wanted to find out, you know, what is Nutré? You know, like how do we really want it to work without any limitations?
Essentially what this phase would call it would be like the prove the concept phase. Proving the concept on the menu items that we have, proving the concept on the process and all this fun stuff. So basically we probably got to like 30 or 40 people weekly, which was a la carte, no subscription, which is, we'll get to it later. Every week was kind of a struggle to get those 30 clients. So we started to see and start gathering some feedback to our clients, which is extremely important. Asking the clients, you know, do you like the food? Is there anything we could do better? Is the variety okay? And we really started gathering feedback to then take to ourselves, say, are we going to go more into this? Do you think that we could do better? Do you think we can be one of the best in the space? And then we kind of took the next step.
Yeah, exactly. And during that time, we learned so much. You know, we built the foundation of the company at that time, you know, from what Tino said, this discovery phase, proof of concept phase. What were some of the things we were going to continue with? What were some of the things that we could drop off, right? So then it was, okay, we started seeing that we were getting some traction, but we were never doing a lot of people. I think we were at like 50 people a week, probably.
Max, yeah.
Yeah, from like 30 to 50 people, like in that range.
This is like 6 to 7 months to give a timeline. We probably did this.
Yeah, we didn't have a website yet for that.
Doing just jot form. Angelo was cooking. Me and Lucho were packing, doing assembly. I was doing delivery after my nightlife shifts, keeping everything in-house. And then it got big to a point where we had like 40 or 50 people. And then we hired a courier to do the overnight. Remember that Irish guy?
Yeah.
That Irish miserable fuck. He came in, took the orders, did the deliveries. And then it got to a point where we weren't like maxing out the kitchen, but it was putting a lot of stress on the actual Toscana's kitchen. And then we made the next investment, which you guys can talk about, is the garage in the back.
Yeah, so first we put a little walk-in cooler off of the kitchen in order to like be able to handle like that 30 to 50 people that we had. And then from there we had this like empty garage in the back that was a storage unit, and we built out a refrigerator to be able to hold the meals in there, because we found out quickly that the space that you have for refrigeration really dictates the number of customers you can service.
This was our first real like investment back into the business. So this was a huge point for us. Like we were already into it for, you know, now we're getting close to a year, and it felt like we have some traction, but like, is there enough that we could just, we can come out of pocket for 40K? Like, I remember this being like a serious point of conversation. Like, how far do we want to go with this thing? You know what I mean? Like, is this worth it? Is it taking, you know, where's our time being spent? Like, let's really evaluate the shit out of it. You remember that day in the office?
Yeah, to Lucho's point, at the time, to put it in perspective, we were like maxing out about 50 customers. Putting this refrigerator in the back, this $40,000 investment, we literally mapped it out. Okay, how many customers, based on how many meals they were getting, the space on the shelf for that meal, we figured that we can get to about 500 customers. So we would have to 10x in order to fill out that refrigerator. So at the time, you know, we're not really getting that many new customers. Like we haven't figured a lot of things out. So do you make that investment first, or do you try to fill it out, like fill as much as possible and then do it last second, you know? So, you know, we decided to,
if you build it, they will come.
If you build it, they will come. That was kind of our strategy. So we made the leap, we put that thing on, and we paid for that with the cash flow of the business every week. Again, that's one of the keys when you're first starting. Keep your overhead as low as possible.
And at this point, I think we're like 6 months to a year in. If you look at this timeline, we didn't take $1 out of this, any Nutré related ordering, any money that came in. We just kept it in the account to then, because we knew we were going to reinvest it.
Nobody was getting paid.
We were blessed to be able to do that because we had other streams of income that could support our livelihood, but we were living very low at the time anyway. Small homes, keeping everything super low, our not really nice cars, everything super low, because we're in this growth mode, not only just this company, but all the companies. So that gave us the ability to then reinvest into this refrigerator that Angel's talking about.
Exactly. So that's like the first lesson there about like, you know, at what point do you feel like you can take the leap of faith, right? And then keeping your overhead low so you can reinvest. So that was that investment to the cooler was like the first thing. And then the second thing was like, all right, now it's time we need to build a website. We can't just keep doing these manual forms.
So this gets us to 2018, and all the way that we got to 50 clients was purely through like push and pull effort, texting friends, calling friends, like asking favors, like really pushing, pulling. No real marketing was getting to this point.
Convincing them to buy.
Yeah,
please
buy.
Yeah.
Then we got to building a website, which do you guys even want to get into the first website?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like why we decided to go with this web. So the options were either build like on a Shopify site, which would have been probably like $5,000 to $10,000 at the time to build like a boilerplate website, or do we want like the fully customizable, fully custom coded website that we could go like.
And in our head, we were like either go all in and like buy the best platform, or like this cookie cutter thing that won't have all the functionality. So we decided to go all in, got convinced of this one person who was a Boston guy who had a lot of good reputation, a lot of referrals and references from really high-end people, and they all said he was great. So we did it. We went in with him. He built us the site.
How much was it?
$75,000.
That's a lot for a website.
$75,000. It's a lot. Yeah. But again, like we didn't really know a lot about tech, right? We're fucking food and real estate people.
Right.
So we did it. Then, a lot of shit happened after that, really.
But yeah, a lot. Yeah. So the website, we had a lot of problem with the technology. So we were like losing customer data. We would,
the website sucked. The website started like crashing, wasn't collecting data. Was it a la carte at this point?
Yes, that was.
It was a la carte. Yeah. It wasn't subscription. And this guy was supposed to be like this big advisor, big tech, like telling us what to do on the tech side of things. Because this type of business, like your tech is a huge
e-commerce.
piece.
It's e-commerce.
Yeah,
that's
like
the crazy thing. It's
we're
super
going from
operational, but it's e-commerce too. Like it's
right. We're going from restaurant service-based business to essentially like this hybrid of e-commerce, like customer acquisitions and all this stuff on the website. And we just weren't really, used to that. So we got guided in the wrong direction with this website. To keep that short, to see how crazy that this process was, that really held us back for 6 months to a year. We didn't grow. I think the most we went was to 120 people. So we probably grew 70 people with this new website, but we spent so much, but it kept crashing, not working. Yeah. The guy that we hired ended up getting arrested, he was
Ponzi
scheme.
Yeah, frauding people.
We were right in the middle of a Ponzi scheme.
In the middle of a Ponzi scheme, huge thing, FBI, airports, fucking like testimony. We were getting called from the SEC. Like,
yeah, we were sending this kid $5,000-$10,000. Because at this point we were desperate too. So like, website crashing. Like, think about it. Customers cannot order. You can't accept money from a customer. Like nothing can happen.
We're getting called. Yeah, like we can't.
So we're literally thinking like, okay, we were ready to go back to like emails and jot forms. Like, how are we going to keep this thing alive? Or we're literally going to go out of business right now. Like, and then this kid was just fucking taking our money, and just next thing you know, he's on a yacht.
Exactly.
Like Bali.
And if you know us, if you know me,
yeah.
I was calling this kid like, where the fuck are you? Like, I don't give a fuck if you're in Bali. I don't care what's going on. You're like, give me your tech guy. I'm calling him right now. Like, let's fix this thing. If he wasn't answering, I was like, I'm going to call every one of your friends. I'm going to fuck you so hard. Like, I was trying to do everything possible to get this guy to answer because we were so desperate. We're back against the wall, hundreds of thousands of, not hundreds, but at this point, $100,000 in this business on this guy's back, and he's fucking us like straight up. So we had
a backdoor relationship with his like main guy too, though, which was like kind of the key.
Yeah, he helped. Yeah, exactly. So we had to keep giving them money to like keep fixing the repairs.
Right. So we were in deep. This thing was a money pit.
Right. Exactly.
So we knew that eventually we had to pivot and to get someone else. So there's more to that story, but we found another person to build our new website. And it took about 4 or 5 months or 6 months to build it. So we were kind of dealing with this shitty website for that 6 months to be built, just kind of waiting to transition. Finally, it launched. When we launched, we went with subscriptions because, again, we took the lessons we made from a la carte and went to a subscription model. And then when we launched, we went from 100 to...
We doubled pretty quick. I think we got over 200 like pretty quick.
Yeah, for reference, it took us like 2 years or more to get to 100 customers, and then it took us like a couple months to get from 100 to 200. Right.
Which proved the model of subscription models. Like, we're like, wow, this model fucks. Like,
right.
This
but
is
it's a subscription.
Model.
But just to be clear, it's a convenience-based subscription.
Right.
It's not a subscription where it locks you in for long term.
Right.
You can skip, cancel anytime. Like, it's just literally 1 week at a time. The biggest difference was It reminds the customer, because we found out like through the feedback at the beginning where
to order every week.
They forgot to order. It's not that they didn't want to order. They'd be calling us like Saturday, like, hey, I forgot to order.
Right.
So we're like, okay, this is more to set up to remind people.
And to that point, we during this phase of these 2 years, we order from every other meal prep company throughout the country, try to pick out their pros and cons. And one of the biggest cons was they locked you in for 2 or 3 weeks, so they didn't remind you, and you kind of felt bamboozled when your order came. And we didn't like that, like non-transparency. So we created a transparency process where, we sent reminders. We made sure we texted people on their first order to then realize, okay, like we got the new website subscription. Now let's figure out the customer experience end of this thing.
Right. Exactly.
Well, at that point, once the new website was launched, we were like, okay, we have a business now. Like,
yeah, exactly.
This is the point where it started. Like, okay, there's actual traction. We can actually grow this thing now.
At that time, right before the website launched, when it crashed for the last time, where we lost all 100 people's data, right? Yeah. We had 100 customers lost all the data, right? And I think it was like right around your birthday. I remember.
Yeah, we sat down.
And we had a conversation. We said, all right, we've been at this for 2 years, okay?
So much time.
So much time and so much effort. Now, you got a picture. I'm working, regular, like the restaurant, like life at that time, and then working overnight cooking by myself, Fridays and Saturday nights. Right. And these guys are delivering.
It was a physical toll
for 2 years, like really, really killing ourselves. And we're just, any money that we had made, we had to reinvest all the time. So we were saying, okay, we're going to give this thing another year. We're going to go all in with this new website for another year. If not, we need to evaluate our time. Like, is our time being spent in the right business, in the right, in the right model, whatever it was. So at that time, it was like a real pivoting point, like a real like make or break situation. Mm-hmm. So then, luckily the new website worked.
Yeah, the new website worked. And then when it started to build, we're then like, okay, like we really haven't spent too much marketing here. Let's figure out this whole marketing side. And then we also were like, all right, let's figure out the price of this thing. Like we're not going to be the cheapest because we need to make money. And this business is small margin. So we're going to add a delivery fee. We're going to make sure we're profitable because we realize that margins matter. Like we're not a Shark Tank VC-backed company where we burn money every month and don't care about the profitability. The profitability with this company was extremely important to then reinvest and build.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So when you're growing a business, like you have two options. Are you going to bring on investors, right? And then you can scale faster, but probably not profitable because your customer acquisition costs and you're trying to build your operational capacity faster than the revenues coming in? Or do you do it, like strong, like slow grow, brick by brick, and have to be profitable along the way? And that's the decision we made. We could have gotten way faster, but looking back on it, I'm so
there was
happy.
A lot of pressure too to raise money at the time.
Exactly. Everybody, this was like everyone was the craze.
That's all everyone was talking about.
Yeah,
raise, and we were like, we just never felt like it's not the right time.
Right.
So then after this started to build, and we were like, let's figure out this marketing stuff. So then we hired a couple marketing agencies, some that were okay, some were not. We started like finding out new phrases like KPIs, customer acquisitions, lifetime value of clients, and realized the importance of that in this type of business because again, you're like in this e-commerce subscription business. Mm-hmm. So then we made the decision to move into the Beverly location. Can you guys talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So we found that we had, again, operational capacity issues, right? Yeah. So like no matter how hard we pushed for customer acquisition, customer retention, we had a problem with capacity, right? So we were pushing and pulling like crazy. And again, then we get stuck at like 200 customers.
Right. It's like, how much marketing do we want to spend? Because we still have this limitation to how many customers we can even take.
Exactly.
So we were always fighting that balance of like, all right, let's do a little bit, but we can't get too much because then we're just going to get fucked.
Exactly. So we were always like had like one hand on the e-brake as we're trying to like go. So we find a catering company that was willing to share their kitchen with us. And we moved from, actually before then we went to a Holiday Inn.
Holy shit. Yeah. I forgot about the Holiday Inn.
We rented the kitchen.
That kitchen was actually solid.
Yeah, it was. It really helped us. So we moved out of Toscana. We went over to the Holiday Inn. We were cooking there 2 or 3 days a week. Everybody there hated us because we literally like took over their kitchen, took over their walk-in coolers, whatever. We were there for, I don't know, maybe like a year almost.
Yeah.
Kind of a long time, right?
Less than that.
months. 6 months to a year. So we were there for a while until they were like, all right, you guys got to get the hell out of here. So then we found a catering company in Beverly that we ended up renting their kitchen to, and that was a blessing. Yeah. So once we got there, next thing you know, like our customer, we started adding customers. Like
real traction.
All of a sudden, if you build it, they will come.
So we upped our capacity, and on top of that, we hired a really good chef at that time, because obviously we got to a point where Angel can't be in the kitchen all the time. We hired a good chef and started building a team around the chef, which was an important piece.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
he really improved the quality of the product.
Right.
And I'm not ashamed to say it, he's a much better chef than I am, and the quality of the food really increased, and you could see the noticeable change in customer retention, right?
Because of the product, the quality of your product is so fucking important in any business, but the food especially. You could be as healthy as you want. It could get you results losing weight, but if it's not good, people will not order again. Like they won't sacrifice it.
You could talk about customer retention, ads, ROI, all that bullshit all you want. The better your food is, the better all those numbers are.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So then to paint the scene, where we have a bigger kitchen, we have a good chef. We're starting to build the team around him. We're starting to see growth. Our marketing, we're starting to kind of get a good idea of kind of what's going on,
what's working,
what's not working. And then there's starting to become pressure in the kitchen of, we're going to stay here longer because we kind of outgrew it, or we're starting to have some issues with the other catering company.
Right.
What do we do next?
You have to stay ahead of it, operationally.
Right.
So
exactly.
so the same thing didn't happen before, where, we sprint to get to this certain amount of customers and then we can't grow anymore.
Exactly.
So
at that time we started looking for another facility. We found a facility that, after looking at a bunch of places, this place was perfect. And some of the reasons,
really was perfect.
The reason that it was perfect, there was, number one, the location. It was like right in our wheelhouse where all of our people worked and everything, where they live. That was number one. But that was probably number two. The biggest reason it was so good is that the building itself was 30,000 square feet, which is like enormous compared to what we're used to, right? But it had tenants, right? And it allowed us to start with a smaller footprint.
Right.
And the other tenants in the building would basically pay the mortgage, reduce our overhead, and allow us that as we grew, we could take over different parts of the building to eventually grow into it.
Yeah.
So since we're real estate people, we bought the building. We didn't lease it just to put into perspective, because we're always, in the other side of things, we're looking for like long term. We knew it was a good value purchase. Right. Then we knew we could add more value to the building with kind of doing what we're going to do.
Well, the build out is just such a big, you have to really own the building when you're talking about it.
So just to give you guys perspective of like how much we're going all in at this point, because we reached a point of like, concept is proven, we're building our team, we're starting to make some money, right? We're like, okay, now it's time to go all in. This is like the pivotal point when a business owner talks about like what happens next, right? Like the climax of the story. We bought this building, and the building was how much money? I don't remember.
1.6.
And we spent how much to build it out?
600.
No, 1.2.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So we're 1.2 million like out of pocket. I think we got a grant or something.
No, we got a city loan for 600, and then the other 600 we paid for like as we were cash flowing in the business.
So now we went from like a couple $100,000 in this business to like millions in this business. That's
invested,
how
like
right.
We're all
like
we invested into the next. We know that in this building there's runway to get to. We can make $100 million company out of this building.
Right.
Yes, that was the idea.
And to Angel's point, we did it like little by little. 30,000 square foot building shaped like an L. So we took one half, started building out just for us, kept the other tenants, because let's say our mortgage was, I don't know, 14,000, whatever it was, like 7,000 or 8,000 was paid through the tenants. Like half that was paid through the tenants and kept our overhead low.
Right. Exactly.
So we were rent free in there, but we had a lot of money out of pocket to start.
Exactly. And that was why the building was so perfect for us, and it allowed us to grow into it. So once we were building that out, it took like months and months and months to build that out. To give you like a little perspective, it used to be a mechanic in an auto body shop and a window tinting facility and all this. So we had to turn it into like an FDA quality, like state of the art food manufacturing facility. So that's you're talking about gut job. So
this is 2020, right? This happened?
No, well, 2019 we were building it, and then we got in. So then COVID hit.
Yeah, boom, and that's what kind of.
At the time we were like, "Holy shit, we're in the middle of. We just bought this building. We're in the middle of this construction. Like we don't know what's happening, right?"
Yeah.
But COVID ended up being a good thing for our business. Where now, before COVID, getting food delivered to your home was like a foreign idea. Like people had never heard of that before.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, everybody's getting food delivered to their house. It's just a matter of what service works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much like fast tracked what was going to happen. Eventually, like meal prep company was going to be like a mainstream, like everyday thing for somebody. And it just sped up that process because health was so front of mind during COVID.
Yeah.
But also what happened during this time period is we figured out the idea of like guerrilla marketing, like ambassador marketing, partnership marketing, Google ads, Facebook ads. Like we really went kind of all into this and realized like you can't just rely on one stream. You have to have multiple channels, multiple marketing channels in order for you to acquire new clients, because that's the name of the game with subscription-based companies.
Because now 20 new customers, 30 new customers, like that doesn't mean shit in a 30,000 square. We need to start eating up some.
Right, exactly. So there's a couple of factors, right? There's customer acquisition, which Valentino just talked about, which is the marketing, getting the customers on, right, at as cheap as possible. Then there's customer retention, which was, at the time, we didn't realize the importance of how much customer retention is. Now, what falls under customer retention? The quality of the product, right? So once they order for the first time, are they going to stay on because they like the food, right? Customer service. If there are any issues, like what their customer experience is like.
And to that point of customer service, like what big companies lose out on, like big VC companies, they lose the customer service part. If you're a small company and you're bootstrapped, whatever, you can win over another major competitor with your customer service and customer experience.
Right.
And that's what we learned early on. Like we noticed that on someone's first order, if they use another big meal prep company, they weren't texting their clients first on their first week to make sure like they're
it's like ordering something off Amazon. Like you order it and it comes,
Yeah. So we were like, okay, we're going to text our clients and see how they're liking their food, get some feedback, get to know them.
Yeah, a lot of that carried over from our hospitality side too.
100%.
I think that was big for us.
Exactly.
We looked at it completely different. Like how we looked at food and customer service, we looked at it from like a hospitality restaurant standpoint.
Right.
And I think that really benefited us.
And then we started learning like, CRM, email automation, SMS, and that's kind of like a constant learning curve. No one's really 100% mastered that because it changes every single month. So like as a business owner right now in this space, you constantly have to reinvest yourself, constantly learn, constantly see other podcasts and pull things from other people to see if you can, apply it to your own business.
Yeah, exactly. So with the customer retention, brand loyalty is a big thing, right? So it's like the quality of the food, customer service, brand loyalty, because everyone's throwing ads at them everywhere, right? Why do they want to stay with you?
Yeah.
Right? Do they believe in your mission as a company? Do they believe in you as people, right? That's important. Nobody wants to, in today's day and age, people buy from like who they like, who they relate to.
Right.
They don't want to buy from scummy people. So your brand is very important. Brand loyalty is number one.
You have to know your audience. You also have to know your competitor, like where you lay in your competitor space, right? Like if you're local, and a lot of the people in your space are not from your area, then you really harp on being local, for example. If you're a family business and your competitors are not, like that's your competitive advantage. Like see the landscape and use your competitive advantage to your advantage to actually market that into your strategy.
Yeah, well, use who you naturally are to your advantage.
Exactly.
Right? Like you can't fake being, that. You need to amplify who you are to your customer base.
Yep.
Right. So at this point, we're growing, right? Like we're growing, I think 100% year over year. And now we're like growing we're building a team in the front of the house, which is essentially customer service, dietitian, all that. And we're building around some of our key players because our key hires, we realize like, wow, people are helping us get to this point. Yeah, our quality of food is, but we're hiring people. Before, sometimes we really think that we needed it, but we're like, let's get it. Lucho was big on this. Like, let's get ahead of this. Even though we might not need a customer service person right now full time, let's hire a customer service full time because eventually we're going to need one. So let's start hiring that person and building around that to staff.
I've always been like, my school of thought has always been like, if you can make a hire that's going to make the company better and your cash flow can afford it, do it. Right. If you're going to be a better company with that person now in the mix, do it. You can't go wrong if it's going to make your company better, the food better. Any area of the company is going to improve. It can never backfire.
Right.
It's just how much can you spend on it. I mean, you need to consider how much is being spent, and there's always like that cost, whatever analysis. But if your company's getting better, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
And with the marketing side of things, we went through like 3 or 4, and on the agency side alone, like you're talking digital ads, we went through like 2 or 3 different big marketing agencies and realized like this guy sucks, but it took 6 months and a huge investment to find that out.
Yeah, that's a big arena.
The second and third person were like, this guy's pretty good, but he's not going to get us to like the 8 or 9 figure market. Then we finally like found some people that were like, okay, this guy's good, you know, and then in that time, it's like, sometimes I feel like the fastest companies I see grow, like they just find the good people early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To get them there. Like,
well, they were willing to, that's part of having like VC money though. That's the speed thing. Because if you're going to get someone to invest $2 million into your company, right? All of a sudden you're like, all right, let's start looking for a marketing, you know, a COO, like a whatever, CFO, like marketing person, like all these, like you can start building out your departments faster, where we took the approach of, you know, we're going to build it ourselves until we can cash flow enough to be able to hire someone in this department, put somebody else here, and then that's the slow grow model.
Right.
But I believe that model is better because your foundation is much stronger.
Right.
Because the people that you grew with, like everybody that is in a leadership position right now at the company, started at a low point in the company. Right. So that means that they are more, you know, loyal with the company. They are all in with us, right?
And they've been there from the very beginning. Like
that's the point.
They've seen all stages.
They've been with us from the beginning. So that you're not just bringing somebody from the outside who's already like a high powered, you know, COO or whatever, who's just coming in with this different attitude. It's people who have been there with us. Like if you look at in every department who's in top, like our person who's in charge of logistics was a delivery driver.
Right.
Our person who's in charge of like the assembly room operation was a packing person from when we were at the old place, right?
Yeah.
Every single person got moved up, and I feel like that is the strongest possible foundation.
And every one of those people was trained by one of us, depending on what the department was.
Right.
Like,
and they earned their growth.
Right.
You know?
Like when you said delivery logistics, like I think I built out the whole delivery logistics program myself. Like how each order got delivered, how many drivers, where they're gonna go, what times, what like notification software. So I literally did that with this guy who was my first driver helping me, who's now the logistics manager.
Right.
So little by little, we're developing this over time, little by little. And now he has like he's going to have 40 drivers by the end of January.
Which I think that what you guys did such a good job of, and them kind of being my mentors as being the youngest brother, was they did it without even knowing. They hired without having a dead end to that job. Like when they hired someone and they brought someone in the business, like there is no dead end for you. You know, like if you're a customer service person, it's like, this is where you're going to be, but there's opportunity for you to be head of this. Or if we hired a dietitian, it was like, you're going to be our dietitian, but there's room for you to grow to be here, which I think is such a big part of culture. Like there is people in our organizations, they know that there is no dead end for us. Like there's always room to grow, which I think you guys did a good job of laying that foundation. I don't even think we even knew we were doing it.
Well, no, you know, you got to sell the vision of the company. They need to believe in you as entrepreneurs, as business operators, as you know, as the leaders of the company. So if you can sell them on the vision and they can see when you're interviewing them or when you're first meeting them where this thing can go, that there is no limitations, that is a key to bringing on these good people.
Yeah. They need to believe in you as leaders.
100%.
That's a huge part of it.
So at this stage of the game, we're focused on developing leaders developing leaders.
Yeah, and
right?
it's a big responsibility on us, but we are like excited for it. Like when we tell people like there's going to be room for growth, like you're going to be the first hire in this department, we're 100% convinced that that's exactly what it's going to be. It's your job to lose at this point, but this company's gonna, that department is going to reach this point.
Exactly.
Whether or not you're going to be a part of it is up to you. If you could, if you show that you can handle it.
Exactly.
But just showing that confidence and actually doing it, having action behind the words, showing on a daily basis that that's what we're working towards.
Exactly.
So now let's give the landscape of where we are today, right? There's some things that kind of came throughout this process that we didn't mention, like Kettlebell Kitchens went out of business, which was one of our biggest competitors that really like opened the gateways for us a little bit to kind of poach a little bit in certain areas and kind of see what's going on. But let's lay the area of where we are today, where we are, what we're doing, and what's the next kind of phase of us.
We're always looking to improve. That's like another like lesson. Like we just launched our new website, like our 3.0, I guess, the website with the same development company.
With the same tech team, again, which was huge. We realized the tech was so important. These guys had a lot of integrity. If you realize people in the tech community, like they'll fuck you. It's like a mechanic. Like you don't know what's going on with your car. They'll just fucking bill you and fuck you left and right, give you crazy sorts of invoices. We built a good rapport with these guys and they do such a good job.
Right. So they came to us about like 8 months ago and they're like, listen guys, like we built this website. It's doing great. It's awesome. Right. But it's starting to lag a little bit. Like the customer data, like the type of ordering that we have, there's just so much
volume. It's
too much volume, too much data. He's like, we need to make a decision. Like, we don't think we can patch this thing together to make it for the long term. But if you guys are going to double, triple, or 10x where you are right now, we need to start like migrating over to a better platform that can handle more. So we made that decision about, I think like 7 or 8, almost a year ago, probably. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So over the course of this year, we've been building a brand new site on a new platform, which again, another investment back into the next stage of the company, right? So that literally just launched last week.
Yeah.
So the tech company just did a great job with that. And as we're doing that, we're also going to be launching an app in the first quarter of 2023. And that app will have a bunch of new features and stuff like that. So we're always looking to develop the product line, make things better, adjust with the world is from where it was in 2017 to where it is today in 2022. Completely different world. There's different needs, different wants, different customer behaviors. All that stuff is different. So we're, always trying to adjust and pivot along the way.
And the reason we made these decisions with the tech stuff was all based on database decisions. Like if we did an app, was because we saw our data was 78% of our users were on mobile. We're like, wow, we don't even have a fucking app. Let's get this app done. Mm-hmm. When we made some functionality changes with the website, we were looking at like, okay, who's the biggest company in our space? Okay, it's this. Let's look and see kind of what they're doing, how they're doing it. Take some of their data points, match with some of our data points. What's going to help streamline our back end? What's going to help our front end? And kind of blend all this feedback and data points that we've been getting over the next couple of years and actually apply and execute it to our staff, our operations, and our tech.
Yeah, exactly. So right now we're at the stage where we are, we're trying to, I think we can go 4 times more in our building. Like our customer base could grow 4 times in the current facility that we're in. Mm-hmm. So right now we're focused on that. We're focused on refining our product, leading our leaders, developing leaders within the company. And we're looking to 4x in the building that we're in to handle the entire Northeast. And then from there, we have plans to go, different parts of the country, with in different facilities. So we're always looking to improve and to grow. But at this point, we're leading leaders and we're always looking to make the product and service better for our customers.
And our plan of growth is always to be profitable. That's why we have certain fees on there. It's because we need to stay profitable in order to reinvest. We're not going to lose ourselves and in growth mode to then not be profitable. So we can't sustainably reinvest into a new facility in Florida if we ever want to do that or something.
And give the best product to the customer too. Like we don't want to have to charge less and give you a less quality.
Yeah, that's a key. That's like a stopping point right there. Like we don't cut corners on anything.
We realize that clients are so smart nowadays that they will understand if you cut a corner. If you use cheaper meat or a cheaper vegetable, they will find out and they will understand. And you cannot cut a corner.
Yeah. No, so we buy only the best quality ingredients, right? And we learned that early on in the restaurant business, and we applied that. We use the same vendors that we use at our restaurant, like for our steaks and our meats and our produce, seafood, all that stuff, our seafood. So it's all restaurant quality ingredients. So we could have cut down. We could have cut our costs significantly, right?
Absolutely.
By doing that, but we would never, ever do that. Yeah. And right now, we're in this landscape. I mean, it's 2022 right now, almost 2023. We're in the middle of an inflationary period that is incredible, and we're going to find a way, and we're pivoting around. We're trying to do everything we can not to raise our prices. So we're being smart on what we know about, food cost and food quality
mix and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Menu mix, stuff like that. We're doing everything possible to keep the highest quality stuff on the menu and, remain at a healthy margin so we can continue to invest.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it, guys. That's how we grew our 8-figure business. There's a lot of pillars and learning curves along that, along that story, different things you guys could take away. And we hope that we actually listen to that story, take some key points away and maybe some of the mistakes we made, or, take some lessons from the good stuff that we did along the way. And hopefully you can apply it to your business or your life somewhere along the way.
Yep. So thanks for tuning in. And that's a wrap.
Appreciate you.